Welcome to Impact Makers. I'm Mahadi. Today's episode is a long one, and it needs to be, because we are pulling back a curtain on a subject that has been, for far too long, ignored, meticulously minimized, or simply erased from the mainstream narrative. Today, we are reconstructing a foundational pillar of world civilization. We are exploring the profound, indispensable role Muslim civilizations played in the very fabric of education, science, and technology. Let me be clear, this is not about pride. This is about historical accuracy. This is about completing the story. Why this story matters. When we hear the story of human progress, it often sounds like a straight line. We hear ancient Greece, then Rome, then a dark age, and then, boom, the European Renaissance and the Enlightenment. The narrative is so tidy, so Eurocentric. And yes, those European moments were pivotal, but that narrative begs a critical, gaping question. What knowledge made those moments possible? You see, civilizations are not light bulbs that suddenly switch on. They are rivers, fed by countless tributaries. For centuries, from roughly the 8th to the 14th, the Islamic world was not a tributary. It was the main channel of global knowledge. If you surgically remove Muslim contributions from history, the story of science doesn't just have a gap, it collapses. The Renaissance loses its foundation. The scientific revolution loses its precursors. And here's the human cost. When people are systematically written out of history, they begin to believe they don't belong in the future. This episode is about restoring a legacy to empower a new generation. Islam and the love of knowledge. To understand the what, we must understand the why. The engine of this civilization was a revolutionary concept embedded in faith. The very first revelation to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not a command to pray or fast. It was a command to read. Iqra. Read in the name of your Lord who created. This set the tone. In Islam, the pursuit of knowledge, ilm, is a sacred duty, a form of worship. A famous saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, urges believers to seek knowledge even if you have to go as far as China. But this knowledge was never confined to theology. It was all-encompassing. Studying astronomy was a way to understand the Creator's cosmos. Mathematics revealed divine order. Medicine was an obligation to preserve God's creation, the human body. This theology created a culture unlike any other at its time. It mandated education. It funded scholars from the state treasury. It turned libraries into cathedrals of the mind. The house of wisdom, the internet of its age. The pinnacle of this ethos was Bait al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom in 9th century Baghdad. Imagine a hybrid of the Library of Alexandria, MIT, and a United Nations think tank. Caliphs sponsored a monumental translation movement. Teams of scholars rendered mountains of text from Greek, Persian, Sanskrit, and Syriac into Arabic. The works of Aristotle, Plato, Hippocrates, Ptolemy, and Brahmagupta were saved, studied, and crucially critiqued. This is key. Muslims weren't just passive librarians, they were peer reviewers. They tested Greek astronomy with better instruments. They corrected Ptolemy's maps. They challenged Galen's anatomy. This culture of critical inquiry, of "is this actually true?" was the direct precursor to the scientific method. The scholars who shaped your world. Let's make this personal. Meet the minds whose work echoes in your life today. 1. Al-Khwarizmi, CE 780 to 850. His book, Al-Kitab al-Mukhtasar fi Hisab al-Jabr wal-Muqabala, gave us the word and the discipline of algebra. He introduced the decimal system and the number 0, adapted from Indian mathematics to the West. His Latinized name, algorithmi, is the root of the word algorithm. Every piece of software, every digital leap starts with his logic. Ibn Sina, Avicenna, 980 to 1037. His monumental canon of medicine was a million-word medical encyclopedia. It systematized contagious disease, pharmacology, and clinical trials.
It was the core textbook at universities in Montpellier and Leuven until 1650. For 600 years, if you were a European doctor, you were taught by Ibn Sina. Ibn al-Haytham, al-Hazan, 965 to 1040. He demolished ancient Greek theories of vision. He built the first camera obscura. But his greatest contribution was his methodology: hypothesis, experimentation, verification. In his Book of Optics, he laid the bedrock for experimental science itself. He insisted the seeker after truth does not place his faith in any consensus, but questions, tests, and relies on proof. Fatima al-Fihri, 800 to 880. In 859 in Fez, Morocco, this devout and wealthy woman used her inheritance to found Al-Qarawiyyin Mosque and University. It is the oldest existing continuously operating degree-granting university in the world, recognized by UNESCO and Guinness World Records. A Muslim woman founded a university over a millennium ago. Let that fact reshape your imagination of history. Technology and urban civilization. They turned theory into tools that built livable, advanced societies. Engineering. They pioneered advanced water management systems, dams, reservoirs, norias, or water wheels that turned arid regions into agricultural hubs. The intricate Timurid gear system in their mechanical astrolabes is a precursor to modern clockwork. Medicine. Hospitals, Bimaristans like Al-Mansuri in Cairo, 1284, were revolutionary. They had separate wards, offered free care to all, had libraries for training and licensed pharmacies. Psychiatry was treated with compassion, not punishment. Urban design. Cities like Cordoba in the 10th century had street lighting, public baths, libraries holding hundreds of thousands of volumes, and paved streets, while London and Paris were mud-choked and dark. So if this legacy is so monumental, why is it a footnote? The answer is about power and narrative. The decline began with Mongol invasions and internal strife. Then, as Europe rose from the Renaissance into the colonial age, it crafted a new origin story for itself. It engaged in what historians call selective amnesia. The works of Ibn Sina and al-Khwarizmi were taught, but their names were Latinized, their origins blurred. The vast transfer of knowledge through Muslim Spain, Al-Andalus, and Sicily was downplayed. Colonialism promoted an ideology of Western inherent superiority, which required downplaying or denying the advanced civilizations it encountered. Erasing history doesn't change truth, but it does impoverish our collective understanding. So, what is the takeaway from this journey? Muslims were not merely participants in civilization. For a pivotal span of centuries, they were the primary custodians, innovators, and builders. They proved that faith and rigorous reason can be allies, that intellectual curiosity is a sacred pursuit, that a society that invests in libraries, hospitals, and education will light up the world. This story is not a relic, it's a reminder that knowledge has no permanent borders, that genius is humanity's common trait, and that understanding our shared, interconnected past is the only way to build a better, more inclusive future. If this episode gave you value, reshaped your perspective, or simply taught you something new, please do this. Subscribe to Impact Makers. Like this video. It tells the algorithm to spread this knowledge. Share it with one person who loves to learn. I'm Mahadi. Thank you for listening, for caring, for thinking. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and remember, you are part of the ongoing story of human impact. Keep building.